I'm sharing my screen now. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm like so glad that this is almost over, but I'm so excited for it because it's like we have a crazy thick lineup. It's just been like so much work to put together. We, Open Source Observer, are basically planning the first day, April 13th, of Funding the Commons is at UC Berkeley. We have a really uh, sick lineup. If you go to fundingthecommons.io, you can start to see some of the speakers that we have lined up. Folks from Linux Foundation, from Mozilla, from Tor, but we also have like, Owaki from Gitcoin and Protocol Labs and investors like A16Z and I don't know. There's just all sorts of like really amazing talks. Uh, the registration link is here. If you go to fundingthecommons.io, we do have like a special promo code for people in this community. So if you go in here and you type in open source observer, you should get 35% off, which is for anybody in our community. We should actually post that to the Telegram chat too. Why don't I do that after this? This is kind of a sneak peek. We're still kind of finalizing things, which is scary considering how many days out we are. But most of these are confirmed. We have interesting folks from Linux Foundation, Gitcoin, Metagov, Filecoin, IPFS, Mozilla, Tor, Pantera. We'll be giving a talk on some of the work that we're doing with Andrew Nesbitt in the world of impact measurement. So there'll be a session on that, which Carl will be giving a talk on. And then, pretty incredible folks. Ending with, some things around how do we bridge the worlds between Web 2 and Web 3. There's a lot of interesting things that are happening across these two ecosystems that we need to be building better bridges across and collaborating on. But more importantly, how do we improve the general landscape of public goods funding? What kind of experiments can we run across different industries, like across traditional free and open source software and Web3 and governments and NGOs? And how do we collaboratively fund, the public goods that we all depend on? So feel free to take a look. There's a lot of interesting stuff coming up this weekend at Berkeley, so please join us. The only thing that I have to demo, which I could go over real quick, is that I recently added some instrumentation for analytics into Open Source Observer. These are like standard analytics stuff, like Google Analytics, etc. I know there's some other folks in the Web3 space that use other forms of like self-hosted analytics. There's one that starts with a P and one starts with an M that I forget the exact names of now. But the bottom line is, I think, we're trying to do this in a way that's like responsible. It's all client side right now, so you can easily filter it out with an ad blocker if it's something you're not comfortable with. But our hope is that beyond just blockchain data for user analytics, we want to be able to also collect into Open Source Observer user analytics from traditional analytics platforms like Google Analytics. Because what we care about is actually understanding the downstream impact of open source software from not just the developer activity on GitHub, but like the software supply chain and dependency tree, all the way out to like which applications and how many users does this library actually affect. And we're starting with blockchain traces because that's the easiest thing to do user analytics on, because it's all public data anyway. But in the future, I think it would be really, really cool to dog food our dog food and actually plug in things like the analytics that we collect on our website, Open Source Observer, and then actually build bring that into the database, right, into the public database, expose all these analytics in an anonymized, aggregated public data set, and help understand for any of our dependencies, for example, how many users are affected by these libraries, and if we can actually aggregate user analytics from a decent sample of the internet, we can start to paint a really interesting picture of how open source touches everybody. So that's that's kind of the vision right now. All I really did was just kind of like add a bunch of stuff to both the docs and um, the website. But this is, I guess, for Ruben and Carl, just like a thought experiment of like that would be really cool is to start plugging in that data into our data warehouse and start to do downstream impact from our libraries and things like that. That isn't strictly just on-chain data. Anyway, I'll stop there. But yeah, any questions from you guys? Carl and Ruben included.
No, it's cool.
Cool.
All right. All right. I'll hand it off to whoever wants to go next.
Yeah, I guess.
Go
Oh,
for it,
go
Ruben.
ahead, Carl.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Sadly, I don't have as much as I wanted to show, but I can show some things. So there were a bunch of bug fixes, so we don't have to talk about those. But I do want to show something that will hopefully be fully wired up today, but we can get a little sneak peek into it. So basically, right now we're working on the oss-directory, which is our for those of you who maybe don't know, I don't know, Santiago, if you're familiar with it. But we have a directory of open source projects, all the artifacts that are related to those projects. And that's a public repository that we, are hoping to get more people in the community to kind of contribute to so that we can actually get better visibility into what these projects are. This includes things like blockchain addresses, repository URLs, or maybe just the organization's URL. And so we built some stuff to take that the user input and actually like do a lot more validation on it. And also comparison, like a better diffing on our side so that we can do the validation in a smarter way rather than just revalidating the entire thing. So part of what that will be is like when external PRs come in, we want to like take, we would like to, display a list of changes as the artifacts go. And then also and come in like what the changes are, what's removed, what's added, maybe what's updated for certain artifacts or for things like projects that can change like the metadata and whatnot.
Is there anything you want to screen share, Ruben?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna screen share in just a hot second. Let's do it. So I'm gonna show you guys just like a little sneak peek of what this will look like and kind of like some of the output we may get. And hopefully this is cool. I can't unless, let's see. Why can I not screen share? Oh, probably because Carl.
Carl, you're screen sharing
for
right
1
now.
second, just because I wanted to, one of the things that I did want to share actually is some updated docs that show how the data flows from oss-directory.
Dude.
So it's kind of what you're describing right now. But that was basically it. So I pulled it up a little bit late. But basically what Ruben was just describing is how we have these files in oss-directory, which list a project and the things that belong to that project. And then, all of that is basically in a YAML file, which makes it pretty easy to read. And then based on the types of artifacts, different data is indexed from them. And this kind of explains how we treat different types of artifacts. If it's a deployer, one thing happens. If it's a GitHub org, another thing happens. And we try and trace downstream that artifact. And then, we fetch user data and try and link or aggregate over time what kind of user activity is associated with a given artifact and roll that up for an entire project. And then we use that to create impact metrics. So anyway, there's some nice docs now that explain the data flow, which Ruben was just referencing. That's it. Go back. Over to you.
Great. Awesome. Over to you, Ruben. Yeah. Now I look at the weather. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let's see. Can we see? I wonder if you can see. Oh, hold on. I gotta take this out of a full screen mode here. Okay. Ugh. All right. Go live. Cool. You guys should see VS Code right now, and it should look pretty janky, which is expected. Okay. So, one of the things that we've done is actually every time that a pull request comes in, we actually load everything into, a temporary SQL database that we can actually do a bunch of transforms on, which, I've implemented, just kind of a random copy paste style poor man's DBT. I was looking into actually using real DBT, but I wanted to share some of the stuff from the current models, but figured that was actually a bit too complex and this was much faster. So at the moment. So yeah, like one of the things we can do. So right now I have it set up so that I'm looking at the latest PR that Carl just made. So we can actually look at the changes that he made specifically to do that. And I've enabled, yeah, so we will see in just a second after all of these things run.
Oh no, what PR is that?
This is the latest PR. So this is the Hugging Face, I'm guessing.
Oh, okay, to open oss-directory. Cool. Yeah.
Oh, well, hold on. Let me disable some code that I quite literally, the demo gods are not happy with me. I think this is just the new code that I added. So let's just tell me to do out for a second. Apologies.
Yeah, while you get that going, what I was trying to do is actually just populate some big other open source projects that are interesting to monitor and compare things like Ethereum
Oh,
or
cool.
IPFS against those. That was basically it. But hopefully the data will be in there. And in time for Funding the Commons, I can have a slide which will show, that compare some of those, more established Web 2 open source projects with some of the Web 3 ones.
Nice. So yeah, so one of the things we can do is actually, so I can query this database here. We can show, like a summary of the changes. So this is one of the things that'll happen when I guess I commented out that line. When we actually run this as a PR, like, so when you run a PR, so you can see that there are, these are the artifacts. Of the blockchains added, we have two unique addresses added. These are existing, so that doesn't really matter. Code URLs or code packages, or sorry, like repository URLs. Those are, we have actually two added as well from that last PR. So this will also show removed if there are any removed, but for this specific case, there's no removed. But yeah, and then the other thing from this is I get, so this is just a summary, but I also get a list of all of the artifacts that have changed and how they have changed. And blockchains actually, like our blockchain addresses have a lot of dimensions of change. So that was a little interesting to make some of the queries, but we do, yeah. What I will do is iterate through those, and then we have some functions already to do the validation, and then all we have to do is just run that through each of those. So the wiring of that is almost complete, but is not, unfortunately, not ready to show. So, but yeah,
Cool.
that's what we got.
Quick question on this.
Yeah.
So, I remember writing like some validation logic back in the day, like back in Portland actually, of like just checking for string matches. And is that still running, or do you think this is going to subsume any of those validation checks?
It's currently still running. So you check for, like, there's things that are checking for the schema, right, on the project.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
schema.
I think that should remain. Obviously, this is more of a, hey, like, here's the high level, like, things that have changed, and like really just about like doing the validation. But I think it's useful to be able to summarize all of this. Like I can also show you like how projects have changed, how the relationship between collections and projects have changed. So those kinds of things also show up in these SQL queries. So
I guess I'm
right now
trying to figure out like what should live where. I see a world where the old stuff that I made only checked for schema, I guess, and then like everything else can be here. Like one of the issues that's still open is if I list an organization in one project file and then a repo in another project file, that should be flagged as a conflict, but like the current validation logic doesn't check for stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think this is the place where that validation logic should occur, because I can do that query immediately. Like I can find that out right now, like very easily.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's a very simple query. So
I suspect that will like move more and more validation logic into here, including the duplicate checking And the
Yes.
schema validation.
Yeah, I think the duplicate checking should happen here. Yeah, I didn't realize you were doing duplicate checking already. I thought it was just schema validation. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a big issue actually. We're starting to get more external pull requests again, and everyone seems to have a duplicate in it.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. So this will be, yeah, this will definitely, this can definitely solve that. Yeah, I mean, you know, I can show you how to use my poor man's DBT in here. It's a very simple copy paste. So, yeah. But yeah, this all lives in OSO because Ray and I had a conversation where we're trying to put as much in OSO as possible. So if anything, the only thing I'm going to do for oss-directory is just pull down main of OSO and then build it inside the GitHub action.
Okay.
And then that'll, yeah, then we can run these tools, no problem.
So it's like high definition continuously deployed because your O is pulling from main?
Correct, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because originally I was going to do it via like NPM, which it is like worked out to do. Like I've configured the package JSON to do that, but then there were just more steps involved. So yeah.
Well, you can always use
the repository.
You can just use like the checkout code action, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I was going to do a checkout code action of the repository with a shallow checkout. So it'll be super fast.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully by tonight we'll get all of that finished up. But yeah, at least my goal is like I can already do the summary, but I just got to get the PR validation actually wired together. So or like the blockchain validation for all of the addresses and everything. So yeah. But yeah. Yeah, and then as we need more validations, I guess we should just write some of those. I didn't realize that the duplicates one was a big one, so I guess I'll make an issue now. So
the issue's there's already an issue for that one.
oh, okay, cool. Sweet.
But
Hey
which
guys, we got
reminds me
a few minutes left. Let's not do any kind of issue triage.
Oh, sorry, my bad. My bad. Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to share, Reuven?
Nope, that's it. That's it.
Sweet.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I hope in the future we're going to be able to get people that are actually building some of the impact calculators to join. But I just wanted to share the latest. I think it's pretty cool. What it gives you is basically on the right hand, you have a side panel of impact vectors that you can choose. Obviously, our goal is to grow this and get better ones than things like stars and forks. And you can search and you can figure out some metadata about what the indicator is.
Awesome.
This is cool, right? You can set the weighting if you want. And then you can actually, hover over it and see all the different projects. And this will recommend a allocation of tokens. You can do a logarithmic version if you want. You can see that, it's actually pretty interesting because most projects are either, all of their impact is coming from having on-chain users, or all of their impact is coming from having a lot of monthly active devs. So that, yeah, this is, sorry, these are like the long tail of very, very small projects. The other thing that we'll be doing is putting in some, filter conditions so that maybe you want to ignore any project that has only had, one active dev or something, or you want to, just focus at least your major allocations on some of the more higher impact, more established projects. Anyway, that's a quick preview of this. Super cool, right?
Yeah, this is cool. Yeah. I only have like some UI notes, but otherwise this is neat. Like, I mean, like when you click on the things on the right, like the vectors and stuff, it like pops out with a little like what is that? Yeah, it's non-obvious that you have to click the button instead of the entire icon. So
yeah,
that's cool.
Nice.
Though
you can zoom in. That's cool. Anyway, the nice thing is Elliot looks like he's going to be focusing on this full time now. Quit his job and is working on this full time.
Oh, no way. Okay, yeah,
he's all in.
Right. Cool. He should definitely come to these. Yeah. Okay.
He joined the Discord last night, and
nice.
Anyway, get him in here. The other thing I just wanted to share, this was some fun analysis last week. So I was trying to refactor some of our intermediate models and then use them to create more efficient impact metrics. and I applied this to some of the work that Arbitrum is interested in. So they have these like 50 grants that they gave out called STIP. It's mostly to DeFi protocols, and the money was given out like 3 to 6 months ago. And the basic question is like, where are they now? So have they improved their daily active users? Have they done in fees? How many of the users have they retained? And then also some code metrics to get a sense for how much activity is happening on the project. So I just wanted to share this notebook quickly because I think it's cool to see how much easier some of these queries are now. So anyway, I'll skip authenticating. This is all it takes to grab the code metrics. So we filter on this project ID, which is the Arbitrum STIP collection. And then, you can get all the projects. You can see right here, the basic code metrics, and then come down here. And this is basically just grabbing all of the user data that we have. Users in this case is just addresses. We don't have any kind of identity information, but it grabs all the user data. There's some transformations. We look at whether it's a new user or not. We did some segmentation. So there's some categories based on how frequently they are using a given project and when their last interaction was with that project. So someone who needs attention, I think, is someone who's used the app a lot but hasn't been active in the last 30 days or so. A tourist is someone who kind of just came in and used it a few times but then hasn't been active recently. One and done, I think they used it once and never came back. And so you can see these metrics by project and by user. And then there's some aggregations that are happening here. But then the output of all of this are these kind of user metrics, which are pretty useful for Arbitrum. And coming back over here, all of these or some of these might end up as the impact vectors that you'd want to vote on. So you can see like new users. You can see of the total users they had over the last 6 months, what percent were new versus existing. You can see the retention rate, and you can go through all of these. And then I think at the end, we just join everything together. So you can see like peak transactions per month. There's a lot of additional analysis that could be done here. But it's pretty cool to actually wire this up so that previously this would have taken just a lot more work and computation power to get at this. And now it's just a few models and a few queries over here, and you can get some pretty interesting data. And again, like some of these would be turned into impact metrics that would be visualized in a UI like this. We just have to figure out which ones are interesting and useful. That's the next problem.
Quick question.
Yeah.
How much of this how much of this works with the existing intermediate models, like the event table, for example, and how much do you feel like given your experience now doing this for STIP, like what models do you think we're missing, if any?
I think it depends a bit on what we're trying to optimize for. So I've been pretty conscious of how much a query would cost to go from an intermediate model to some kind of impact metric. I think if we start partitioning things a bit better by time, then we can have like pretty big intermediate models, but then, in most cases, people will only be interested in 6 months or 3 months or something. I think we're pretty close right now, at least with the events ones. We're able to, yeah.
How often, if ever, do you scan a raw data source?
Oh, basically never. There was a few things last week. The thing that I was doing with Reuven is actually trying to get a bit more of the raw data into some of our intermediate models. And for the time being, there's probably not much we're going to need, if anything.
I think this one, one of the things that we didn't share was Reuven and I spent a long time digging into ClickHouse, right? And that is my fundamental question with ClickHouse is, if compared to something like Dune, where you're constantly running big data jobs over the raw, traces data set, for example, how much expressibility and value can you get just from the intermediate models? It would be reasonably cost efficient to throw every intermediate model into ClickHouse today and enable really cheap, cost efficient queries for everybody, right?
Yeah.
In real time too, because it should be significantly faster than BigQuery. I don't know that we're
Yes.
quite ready to put all of our raw data in ClickHouse yet, but like, intermediate models should be trivial to throw in there.
Yeah, I gotta jump right now. I got the contractor calling, but definitely let's look into that.
Cool.
Hello?
Awesome. Yeah, Santiago, do you have any other questions?
Not really. There's a lot of things I don't understand because I'm pretty much like a starter level. But yeah, it's just been great listening to everything that's happening, and I have a lot of work to do. Homework.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, let us know if we can help. Like,
yeah, feel free to ask questions anywhere on the Discord, or
yeah, don't be shy. I feel like there's a lot of things that are new for everybody, and different people. Even on our small team of 3 people, there's things that like, I'm just learning for the first time, or Ruben's just learning for the first time, or Carl's just learning for the first time. So we're figuring this out together. So yeah, don't be shy in asking clarification questions, even, because I feel like that even stuff like that is super valuable.
Okay, great. I'll take your word, and maybe I'll send you a direct message or something.
Sure.
But thank you.
Cool. Thanks so much.
All right. That's it. Let's we'll conclude on the half hour, and thanks for joining, everyone.
Thank you.